Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome into another episode of Talk More with Matt Morrison. Joining with me here today is Richie Giuliano. Richie, thanks for coming on here with me again. We're going to talk YSU baseball again, and wow, um, been a little impressed by them here on this run. I mean, I really liked the split with Baylor. They almost took 3 out of 4. What was that like in Waco? If you want to jump right into it, it had to be pretty awesome down there. Great field, everything like that. But I mean, YSU played pretty good as well. If you want to start off with that.
Yeah, they played really well. I mean, to go down and beat a Big 12 opponent just is not very common, especially in the Horizon League. So for us to come down and beat a Big 12 opponent for the first time since 2013 was pretty impressive. And the way that they did it was even better. Coming from behind in both games on Friday night, they're down by 3 in the ninth inning.
Oh
They
my
come back
goodness.
and take a 2-run lead and score 5 runs in the ninth. And then on Saturday night, they're down by 1 in the ninth inning and they come back and they win it again in extra innings. So they came back to win 2 ball games. They were in it on Sunday to win the series, but unfortunately fell short by just 2 runs. But overall, it was a really good weekend, I thought, for YSU. They learned a lot about their bats. They've got some really talented bats. Pat O'Shaughnessy, who's a 6-year senior, had one heck of a weekend. He had an RBI in every single game from Friday to Sunday. Trey Law, once again, who was the Horizon League co-batter of the week last week before the Baylor series when they played Memphis. He had 7 more hits in the series, so he's staying sizzling hot. And then the pitching also stepped up big because we had some arms go down early in games, and then the bullpen was able to finish it out. So overall, Coach Bertolini was really happy with the way his team battled. And anytime you could go down south, pick up 2 wins in a 4-game series
Mhm.
is always impressive.
Yes, and before we jump to the next series here, we'll take a series back here against the Memphis series, and I was texting you a little bit there. Um, they took that first game and just kind of things kind of didn't click in the other. I mean, they still didn't lose by much. I mean, the 13-9 was the most they lost. That's not even that bad. You still put up 9 runs against, a team like Memphis. So, I mean, you always got to look at things like that. And then they lost 6-5 too, still put up 5 runs. So against, a team that's the difference. So what were the keys in that series? Just to kind of hang around, just to kind of play series kind of got them ready for Baylor.
100%. Well, they were in every game, like you said. I mean, to open up this series with a W on Friday night was key to kind of set the tone for the rest of the weekend. I mean, Saturday, first game doubleheader, they led early 3-0,
Yeah.
and then Memphis responds with a 6-run first inning to kind of take the wind out of our sails there in that opening inning. But the bullpen stepped up on Saturday in the second game, only allowing 3 runs. Unfortunately, the bats just couldn't get going. And then on Sunday, it was 6-5, where YSU was battling the entire way. There were tie stretches, there were leads. It was just a series that was so competitive. And there
Mhm.
wasn't one game you're like, this team just blew the doors off of us. Every single game was competitive. Memphis felt the pressure because we had leads of over 3 runs at certain points. And they were able to string a couple hits in the late innings. Memphis walked us off to lose the series on Sunday. I know we had a chance to split. We had some opportunities in the 8th and ninth innings, just weren't able to bring guys home. But, the coaching staff, the players, I think they all know that this year could be special once you get into league play, and that these non-conference teams like Memphis, Baylor, Wake Forest, who's the number 5 team in the country, this is going to prepare them for when they get in league play, because you're not going to see the same arms and the same bats in the Horizon League that you are in non-conference play. So I think that this team is very confident in the way that they're playing right now. Yesterday was a tough one at Kent. They just didn't have the arms. But, to win 2 at Baylor against the Big 12 team, I mean, that just never happens in our league. Well, it looks like Matt's gone, so I guess I'll just keep talking about some YSU baseball. And with Coach Bertolini, I got the chance to talk to him this weekend. We spent a lot of time together. I was with Shane Davis. I was with the coaching staff all weekend long. And the thing that they keep preaching is that we're competitive against some of the best teams in the country. Wake Forest, Youngstown State had a 3-run lead
There
in
we
that
go.
ball game. Yeah, I was
Well,
just talking, Wake Forest series, they had a 3-run lead on Sunday, but the bullpen is gonna be the problem for the Penguins now that they have lost 2
mhm,
starters this year. So,
yep,
they are depleted in their bullpen. We saw that yesterday at Kent State, and they're gonna have to try and figure things out. And there's gonna be games on Saturday and Sunday that are gonna be tough to win because you're gonna have to throw 5, 6 arms every single weekend in consecutive
yep,
games. So, they're going to be tested down the stretch. I think going back to a 3-game series this weekend against Kansas State's really going to help because you only have to throw, 5, 6 arms from Friday to Saturday. Then you have your bullpen, which is well rested on Sunday, compared to what we did last weekend at Baylor. We played 19 innings in one day. Saturday was a doubleheader. They wanted to play both games as 9. So you can imagine, I think they used their entire bullpen on Saturday and just had limited arms left on Sunday, which was a challenge. You there, Matt? I think he's struggling with his Wi-Fi right now. So I'll just keep going on my little thing. I know yesterday we had some big wins across the board for Akron Hoban to win to beat St. Ed's in the regional semifinal to set up a regional final appearance. I know TK Griffith and his squad played an unbelievable game. St. Edwards was the number one team coming into the bracket. I mean, they were one of the best teams in the state of Ohio with a lot of talent. And for Archbishop Hoban, who's relatively young to come in and win that ball game was just unbelievable. They beat Eds by a final score of 44-40. So it was a defensive battle for sure. And St. Edward, a team that lost just 2 games in the regular season to Richmond Heights and St. Ignatius, the rival. So when you look at the schedule for St. Ed's, Archbishop Hoban had probably their biggest win of the season in the regional semifinal and they're going to wait the winner of Stowe, who plays next game, and then Walsh Jesuit as well. So, I mean, you got Akron Hoban, who's doing a good job right now, basketball wise. I
mhm.
mean, they're unbelievable, Matt. I know that you've kind of
Yes,
seen them a couple times.
yes, I've seen him a couple talking, but the Wi-Fi here is just really bad the past couple of days, so we're trying to make some phone calls today. But if I keep popping out, just keep talking. That's why I'm like, maybe I should bring Richie on today rather than have a guest because it's just been really bad. So thanks for coming on here. But yeah, basketball season. I mean, winding down. We're getting into baseball. I mean, that's why I wanted to bring you on here as well. I'm trying to get more coaches' corners together for high school baseball, but we'll get into that a little later. Couple more questions about the YSU baseball. Do you think, like, I mean, I know you were talking about the Kent State game. I mean, the 22-1 loss. So you were talking about they were playing just a lot of baseball, 2 games in one day, and you're playing against Memphis and Baylor. Do you think they're just kind of just a little winded going into that game?
Well, I don't think they should have played the game in the first place. Kent
Yeah.
State was their home opener. They denied us canceling it, so they wanted to play the ball game. They knew they were going to win the game,
Yeah.
and they wanted to pad their stats, obviously, because scoring 22 runs against
Yeah.
guys like me throwing. We threw position players there at the end of the game that had no business pitching.
Yeah.
Half the guys that pitched in that game were freshmen. They were just getting their first starts of the season, so
Mhm.
I think that it was just a terrible situation for our
Uh-huh.
pitchers to be in. I think our offense, they don't I don't want to say they didn't care, but it's like, you're down 16 nothing in the ball
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
We decided to call it after 7 innings, which was the right thing to do because
Yeah.
when you see a team throwing position players, and YSU played 5 games in 5 days.
Yeah.
They
That's
also played
they're just
more.
outgassed.
You're just gassed, and they didn't have enough arms. People were hurt. You got 2 pitchers out for the season right now, and you've got guys. We had 4 guys eligible to throw yesterday. The one guy went an inning. The next guy went an inning. Another guy went 2/3 of an inning. So then you throw position players to finish it off, and it's just like it's just not a good situation for the pitchers. You know, they kind of mailed it in there at the end when it was like 10-0 at the end,
Yeah,
third inning because the game was over, and it's like shouldn't have ever played this game in the first place. But they signed the contract, and Kent State wanted to get that home opener in, so they
yeah,
were definitely able to pad their stats. But
yeah.
it'll be interesting because these two teams will play again. So
Good. It'll be different. Guaranteed a different game. You're not only playing 5 games in 5 days, like you said, but the team. I mean, it's very hard. And then you come in and not a lot of rest on you to play Kent State, and they what? That was their home. They're they're rested up pretty good. So that's just not fair. That's and wouldn't be.
well, I'll be interested to see what happens when they play April 19th because YSU comes off a 4-game series at Baylor where they went extra innings. They used every pitcher that they had in the bullpen. They brought 13 pitchers. They used all 13. The majority of them threw multiple times throughout the day. And when you look at this squad, they don't have enough pitching right now to play midweek games after a 4-game series. So you've got 4-game series at Baylor. You travel on Monday back home. So you fly home on Monday, and then you play again on Tuesday, a day after a 4-game series. You had 4 pitchers available, and Kent State had like 10. So, they play again on April 19th, which is another midweek. That's coming off a 3-game series at Wright State. They'll play Penn State on Tuesday. So, once again, they're going to play 4 games in a span of 6 days at that point. So, it's a tough time to play midweek baseball, especially in Ohio. It was freezing cold yesterday. The conditions weren't great. Wind was blowing in at their face the entire day. But when you look at Kent State, they're going to match up again, and they're going to be ready to go, and they're going to remember this 22-1 loss. So they're going to be ready.
Again, man. Thank you, Richie's on here today. But we're gonna keep moving on here. You're talking about Hoban. Man, I was keeping an eye on that game. I'm glad they got past because St. Ed's is just a powerhouse type of team.
Mhm.
And for Hoban to go in and beat them, I mean, Hoban's, no different from them, but you knew that game was just going to be grueling. And it wasn't a high scoring game. I mean, 44-40 for a final is just, you can tell both teams were playing really good defense. So, games like that. So, I was also keeping an eye on the Richmond Heights game last night too. I know Richmond Heights, Cornerstone Christian, they're not YSN, but Cornerstone beat Badger, and I wanted to see what was going on. And this, as per usual, I mean, Richmond cleans the floor. I mean, they're just magnificent type of team, and I see a lot of Hoban into that team, and I believe Richmond Heights actually using for Division 4 school to come in and beat a Division 1 school is too. So, but it's good to see, it's going to just be a scene in Dayton for Springfield going. So, but going on here, I mean, we got regular season baseball just around the corner. What, 2 or 3 weeks away, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what? I know they have a good team every year. So, is that something you're going to be excited about?
Did you say Canfield?
Yeah, Canfield.
Yeah, they'll be pretty good. They lost one of their pitchers and Connor Miller, so he won't be able to pitch throughout the season. So you're gonna have different guys stepping up. Ben Slanker is probably gonna have to pitch a couple innings. AJ Avrilla is gonna have to pitch a couple innings. Jamison Beck will pitch a lot. There's different guys that haven't pitched in the last 2 years because they've been so deep in their staff that
Mhm.
they're gonna have to throw. Like when you lose your starting pitcher last year, you lose Landon Beitelscheiss, who's doing great
Yeah.
things at Ohio State. You
Yeah.
lose Nate Shaw, who's moved on to Wright State, and you lose a bullpen pitcher, Jay Gerdick, who threw a lot of innings, was kind of like your closer. So you lose pretty much your entire pitching staff, which
Yep.
means that some of the position players are going to have to step in and throw.
Yep.
And they've got good arms, they got good talent.
Yeah.
Ben Slanker going to Ohio, you got Marshall Commit and AJ Avrilla, so they're going
Yep.
to have guys that are going to be talented and
Mhm.
have pitched before at the younger ages, just haven't pitched in the last couple of years because they haven't had to. And if you don't have to pitch, save your arm,
Yeah.
get healthy, and just play the position. But now they're going to have to step up and fill a lot of innings, especially when they go down south, because they play a lot of games in a short period of time. Kind of like we were talking about with YSU. They're going to play 4 or 5 games in South Carolina in a span of a
Really?
weekend or 4 or 5 days.
Oh, that's a great opportunity. Now, is your brother still playing, or did he graduate?
He's gone. Yeah, he's gone. He's
Yeah.
at Ohio State. They lost a pretty significant class all around.
Yeah.
Everybody's pretty much, gone at this point.
Oh, geez. So your brother and, like you said, Beidel Sheese as well, who's at Ohio State as well. Is your brother playing still, or is he just going to school?
Yeah,
No?
he's done. He's done, but he's been happy with, what Landon's done because,
Yeah.
Josh at Ohio State, Landon pitches at Ohio State. So
Yeah.
when they come back, he's obviously going to be at a lot of games. And Landon, he's got 2 saves already for Ohio State, who
Oh,
just won
wow.
the Frisco Classic. They beat Oklahoma over the weekend, and they won the Frisco Classic down there. So that was pretty
Wow.
cool for them. That's a program, in Ohio that's actually been lacking the last couple of years.
Yep.
I think they're really starting to put things together. They got a new head coach this year. They brought in a lot of talent from down south and a couple of transfers. So, this is a program that has a lot of hype around it and a lot of high ceiling. But the question is, when they come back and they play in the Big Ten, how are they going to compete? Because they're
Big
beating
Tens is
teams down
tough.
south. The Big Ten is going to be tough. Like I got to see Illinois already.
Yeah.
Illinois is very good. They got a pitcher in Riley Gowans who could get drafted this season. He's that good. And then their lineup is stacked. They've got 3 or 4 seniors that come back. So the Big Ten will be tough. But I'm really impressed with the way Ohio State baseball has started. They beat UConn, who was projected to be a top 25 team. You beat Oklahoma and you win the Frisco Classic down there. So it was pretty cool to see what they've been doing. And it's great that our local guys, Jacob Gehring, who went to South Range, and Landon Beitelscheiss, who went to Canfield, have been involved early in the first 2 weeks of the season, and they've been producing.
There's another local guy on Ohio State too. Is it AJ Havrilla?
No, it was Trey Pancake, but he transferred back out. He
Okay.
transferred over to YSU.
Okay.
And then you got
Okay.
Gavin Bruni, who was from Alliance.
Okay. Okay.
And he's still there. He pitches as well.
Sweet, sweet. But yeah, I mean, you see a lot of these local kids, like, from Canfield and other schools around the area too, even maybe Cardinal Mooney. You like to keep your eye on them, like where they go and stuff like that, or what they're gonna do in the summer play for in the draft league to get more playing time. I know you know a little bit about that, but you know, baseball is just another sport like where you got to prepare for it, and you sink right into it. Like it's after basketball, like they're already practicing. Like when I was calling tournament games at Ridge, like I've seen the baseball team coming in and out of the gym, like they've been practicing, for a couple months. So it's a lot, and especially if you're playing basketball to go right into that, like it's just nonstop if you keep playing the sport. So it's nice when you're in college, you can just focus on baseball. So, but uh, do you think what do you think YSU where they stand? Like right now, I mean, they're playing some good teams, but where do you think when they start, Horizon play, how do you think they're going to do? They just going to come in and dominate because they've been doing all right against these good teams, or do you think it's going to be, that 500 mark?
It's tough to tell really because their offense has been so good at times, but their pitching staff has kind of lacked at certain points throughout the season to start. So it all depends on the arms and the bullpen. A lot of the guys they're throwing are freshmen, so I think it's great that they're getting their feet wet early and they kind of make their freshman mistakes on the road. So when
Mhm,
you get to Horizon League play, they're kind of ready for those
mhm,
mistakes and how to handle adversity. The offense has a lot of potential this season. The offense can compete with any team, I think, in the league. The question is, will their pitching staff hold up and will they win series? Like, because to win the Horizon League, you're going to have to win 3, 4 games in a
yeah,
weekend. Like, does YSU have the pitching to do that? It's tough to tell at this point. But I believe in the squad. I mean, I think they're going to be good. I mean, they were picked 4th out of the Horizon League, but I think they'll finish higher.
mhm,
I think they could beat Milwaukee. I think our telling point of the season will be when they open up against Oakland because Oakland is projected to finish second in the conference, and they're going to come to Youngstown, not this weekend, but the weekend after that. So
mhm,
that'll be a great showing point for YSU to kind of see where they're at in the conference because Oakland's a team that brings back a lot of experience from last year. YSU's a team that kind of loses their best arms from a year ago. So
yeah.
if we could win a game or two against Oakland and win the series at home, I've got a good feeling of where this team could be at for the rest of the year in Horizon League play. Now, with that being said, if they come out and they struggle against Oakland, might be a cause for concern because that's a team you got to beat to get
Mhm.
to potentially the Horizon League championship.
Yes, most definitely. And if they go in and just, kind of, well, take two, maybe take one out of, I mean, you really are kind of in a tough situation. You know that it's just going to get tougher from that point, playing teams like Oakland and Milwaukee. And so that's when you got to change some stuff. Like maybe I mean, we definitely seen some good things from them because I mean, we were just talking like playing Baylor, playing Memphis, and even though you're not winning every game, you're staying with them. Like if you lose all those games, but they're by 1 or 2 runs, like that's pretty good. You're keeping up with these big teams. But the best thing that they're hoping to get out of those games is that it's going to prepare them for this Horizon League, and we're pretty good things out of that so far. I mean, you even picked up a couple wins from these big teams like Baylor and even one from Memphis. So coming in now to play teams like Milwaukee, like it's the teams that really have to beat. So the weight might be on your shoulders a little bit more. And it might be even more tougher because you have to beat these teams. Where in Baylor, it's like,
Yeah, I mean Baylor, you're not supposed to win. They pay you to come down and win, but when you're playing in the league, there is more pressure because you got to win league games to get to the tournament. But I think why SU schedule such a tough non-conference schedule is so that when they play Oakland, when they play Milwaukee, and Purdue Fort Wayne, the first 3 Horizon League weekends, they're going to be prepared for anything, especially pitching wise, because YSU's facing guys that are throwing 94, 95 right now that are in the Big 12 and that are in the athletic conference. But when they move over to the Horizon League, you're going to see arms that throw maybe 90, 91. Those are going to be your hard throwers. The bullpen goes down to 80 to 88 miles an hour compared to what you've seen in the Big 12, where it's, your bullpen guys come out, they can be throwing 96, 97. So, the reason for these non conference games are to prepare you for the Horizon League opponents. And I don't think there's a lot of pressure when it comes to Horizon League games because, I mean, you've seen these teams a time or two. So there's not much pressure when it comes down to playing the Horizon League teams. It just comes down to can we execute and are we prepared here in the early half of the season to take a couple games against Oakland, against Milwaukee, and against Purdue Fort Wayne.
Yes, oh, kind of missed what you were saying there, but I kind of got the gist of it, like how prepared are they going to be and stuff like that. But I mean, it's a very simple game, but it's a very difficult type of game as well. Like it's easy to lose to anybody any day, and it's easy to beat anybody any day. It's just who is good on that specific day. Like who's got the best rest. And then you got the young guys coming in, and you know some. You hear me?
Now you keep cutting that in and out
Do you hear me now?
a little bit.
A little bit, man. This is a bad day. Bad day of with talk more here. But do you feel like like they'll be all right with these young guys coming in? That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, yeah, I caught the end of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they've thrown a lot of innings to start. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got guys who are making their first career starts as a freshman, which doesn't happen very often at the Division One level,
Hmm.
unless you're a stud coming out of high school and you're like a 4 or
Hmm.
5-star prospect. So, I think that these guys are going to mature quickly over the season. And I think them getting a lot of reps in the early going is going to help them, especially in, late April and hopefully in May when they make the tournament. I think they're going to be all right. There's a lot of guys like Brandon Anderson who had a tough outing yesterday against Kent, but he's got some good stuff. I think that he's going to be a good bullpen arm. Braden Gebhardt, who is from Howland, has some really high ceiling stuff. I mean, he's got a great slider, great off speed pitch. He pounds the zone with his fastball to be able to get ahead. So you got certain guys that are local that Coach Bertolini has recruited that didn't think they were going to get a lot of playing time in their freshman season. But, they come in and they make an immediate impact. Gebhardt's going to have to start some games because, two guys, like I said, for YSU and their pitching staff are down. So you've got two guys down, which means that somebody's going to have to fill those voids. And Braden Gebhardt is the guy to do so. And he's just a freshman.
Yes. You know, it's good to get all these freshmen in here and start right now. I think it's way better even next start have all these freshmen coming in and playing. They're going to be like they're going to figure it out pretty quickly. I feel right.
100%.
Yeah, because you get a lot of freshmen that most of the time to just sit and they don't get a chance to play until maybe their junior season. So when you guys got guys like us who are playing freshmen their whole career, they're going to be way better than those freshmen that are just going to start playing when they're juniors. And in the end, that's going to be a benefit for us. I truly believe.
No, I agree because you're gonna have to, especially with injuries, in baseball, you never want to see it, but it's gonna happen. And there's gonna be teams towards the end of the season that incur some injuries, and they're gonna have to throw guys out there that only have one or two appearances on the season, and they're gonna get roughed up. But you got guys that, for Youngstown State are going to be freshmen the entire way that have, close to 20 appearances on the season. So, there's definitely going to be an advantage. There is a disadvantage because these freshmen aren't fully developed and they're kind of being thrown into the fire at this point in the
Mhm.
season, but it also will help you down the line. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but the year after, you're going to have these guys that have thrown for 2 years now and are going to get better every single season. So, maybe in 2 years when this pitching staff reassembles, you're going to have maybe 5, 6 guys that could throw every day out of the bullpen that are going to be some legit dudes.
Yes, most definitely. But we're at that halfway mark. We'll transition fully into high school baseball now. Like I know we dipped into it to a little bit. We'll fully talk about that before I cut out here again. Hopefully I don't. We're about half hour left, which is hang on. All right. But what teams do you think going into this high school season are going to be the teams to look out for? I know I got meetings set up with the Mineral Ridge baseball coach. Probably going to get the Brookfield softball coach on here as well. And Brookfield just lost in the districts last year, so they're hoping to get
Yeah.
back there this year. And probably eventually I'll be bringing the Badger coach on here too. And he's excited as well. He said he had about 21 kids sign up to play. So
Wow.
last year he didn't have a lot of players. He had to get people from the track team to come out and play because they didn't have a lot of people to play. So I'm excited for that. But who are you excited for?
I think Ursuline's going to be really good again. I know they lose Brady Shannon, but they bring back, Jack Erickson, Mark Manning comes back, Carilla comes back. He was just a junior. Luca Raschuti comes back. He was a junior. So they return a lot of their talent from a year ago. Nick Bako is another guy that's going to be in the lineup, and they're going to play a really tough schedule. They were an 18-win team last year, which was pretty solid. They're going to start out the year playing some of the best competition in the state of Ohio. They're going to play St. Edwards their second game. They're going to play Madison, Washington, game number 3. They'll play Canfield. They're going to play Chardon, who won the state championship. They're going to play a couple other teams like Kent Central Catholic. So their schedule's loaded. They're absolutely loaded this year with their schedule. And I think that, Ursuline could be a team to watch out for, especially to win a district title this year in their division.
Yes, most definitely. Ursuline is always on the top of the list of teams that are going to be good. Now, what team do you think that maybe hasn't been so good the past couple of years is going to break through the surface and start playing better?
I think Boardman has a lot of potential. Not that they've been, bad
Yeah.
the last couple of years. I mean, they've been pretty solid. They beat Canfield a couple of years ago to share, the ACC or the AAC. But they could be a team that goes from 17 wins to over 20 wins this season. They had some guys last year that are going to come back and play. So I mean, they were also an experienced team last year, but I think that Boardman somehow always produces guys that just come out of the woodwork and they always play well. And Boardman, they're a team that beat Canfield in extra innings last year. They beat Chardon. They beat Toronto, who's always a solid team in Division 3. So I think that they could come out and they could surprise people because they kind of had a tough ending to their season after they lost to North Canton Hoover 5-0. So, I think that's a team for sure that could come out and, have another good season.
Yes, most definitely. I've called Boardman a couple of times in the past few years, and they've always put on a good showing. They got a good program there, good coaches, and they got the right guys just to keep things going. So I agree with you there. My dark horse, of course, I mean I call Badger all year, and this last year they were just they were struggling the whole year, and they still got a playoff win under their belt. So hopefully they can get there and be a little bit more competitive. I know they got Brad Hamilton coming back, and Brad was one of the bright spots on this team last year. He's just a hard worker, and I know they got Preston Gerasitano coming up, who's just a freshman, did great on the basketball court, and he's played summer ball and stuff like that, so he's ready to go for them definitely. So it's going to be exciting for them. I'm with you there on Ursula every year. But before I cut out here again, off again, like they had a good year last year, but they're just gonna
"21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
As fine as the eye can see, the finest hardwoods from the finest trees. Made for your home and within your means, Baird Brothers will help fulfill your dreams. Let life and light come shining through in quiet morns. And heavy traffic, too. Find your easy-to-afford fine hardwood floors and doors and more at BairdBrothers.com.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Locally owned and operated, Sheely's relaxed shopping experience means browsing and lounging is always encouraged.
Find Flex Deal and more at Sheely's Furniture and Appliance, because the best things in life happen at home.
How lucky are we to have not one, but two 18-hole Donald Ross Championship golf courses right here in our backyards. Mill Creek Golf Course was selected by Golf Week as one of America's 30 best municipal courses, continuing to challenge golfers of all levels and featuring golf instruction by PGA professionals, a state-of-the-art practice range, a PGA of America recognized pro shop, kids programs, and a relaxing grill room for a memorable golf experience. For more information or to schedule a tee time, visit millcreekmetroparks.org.
Fall is in the air.
Back here, Wi-Fi is just horrible here, so we're gonna end it a little early today. I know probably gonna get stuff from Anthony Hartwig today. Man, you didn't go the whole hour, but it's just bad over here today. I'm trying to make phone calls. We wrap things up here. See, we're loading in again. So before we wrap things up, what player do you think is going to make a huge impact on this season?
I think AJ Avril is going to be that guy that's going to make an impact. Like I said, he's going to have to step up. He's going to have to throw a lot of innings. And, with Canfield losing a lot of bats, he's going to be in that cleanup spot. So he's going to have to drive guys in, and he's also going to have to play defense at third and then come in from third and go onto the mound. So, I think that's my guy this year that's going to make a huge impact on the season. I think Matt's kind of connecting in and out. So, that'll wrap it up here today. And, he'll have the show on tomorrow from 12 to 1 here on YSN.
YSN thanks you for watching this presentation of Your Sports Network. For stories, stats, and more, go to